Scoot. Scoot. Hey, I hope this video finds you well. In my last vlog, I talked about how the fundamental building blocks of every long-term goal are actually habits. Habits are behaviors repeated over and over, which maintained for long enough will result in a goal being successful. It may sound odd to reduce something as complex and emotional as having a great relationship to something as clinical and simplistic as habit formation, but actually that's how I made my relationship work, and you can do it too. I'm Nikki Green, a sexual marital therapist, affairs expert, and the co-founder of the Academy of Lasting Love. So, what are the top 3 habits that today's woman can develop to improve her relationship? The first and most important habit is to create the habit of awareness, both of self and other. Self-awareness is our ability to see and understand our emotions, moods, and drives. And relational self-awareness is our ability to see how these affect those that we interact with. Psychologist Daniel Goleman, in his best-selling book, Emotional Intelligence, suggests that self-awareness is the foundation of it. While research shows that being compassionate is the most important trait to making a relationship last, I believe that unless we develop the habit of self-awareness first, it would be so easy to, thanks to something called cognitive bias, to think that we were being compassionate purely because it was our intention, without recognizing that really we're being incongruent, which means that our intentions and our behaviors are not in sync. An example of this was my friend Cindy, who was flirting with the waiter, but because she believed herself to be a loyal person, she just could not see it. The rest of us at the table, it was totally as plain as day. Another bias that clouds the way that we see others and causes us to be less compassionate towards them is something called the fundamental attribution error. And it's a tendency that people have to overemphasize personal characteristics and ignore situational factors in judging other people's behaviors. We tend to believe that others do bad things because they're bad people, whereas we give ourselves the benefit of recognizing the situation and not making it personal. An example might be that you were preoccupied when you turned off the light, so you forgive yourself, but when hubby does it, he's being wasteful. Everyone is blinded by cognitive biases until we choose to be aware of their grip on us. So what's the solution to this, you might ask? Well, there's a lovely saying: if we judged those we love by their intentions and judged ourselves by our actions instead of the other way around, the world would be a much better place. That's a perfect segue into the next habit that I've already mentioned is the best indicator of a happy and lasting relationship: compassion. Just like awareness, compassion can also be for self and other. I've worked with a huge number of critical women, including myself, and the very best way to stop someone being so critical of others is to help them become less critical of themselves first. I think the quickest way to develop compassion for ourselves and others is to recognize that to err is human. Sadly, most of us didn't get that kind of unconditional love and acceptance from our families. We were usually made to feel that there was something wrong with us when we made mistakes, rather than something wrong with our behavior. Because of this, we never learned to give unconditional love and acceptance to ourselves either. It really helps to understand that it's not that someone made a mistake that's the problem, because we all do it, but it's how we deal with the mistake. The pre-programmed way is to go straight to blame, and that elicits shame, and shame is what often prevents us or those we've blamed from owning the mistake, apologizing, and just making amends. The quickest way to become compassionate is to separate the behavior from the person. Really choose to believe that there was no ill intent, only mindlessness, and vulnerably tell them about the effect of their behavior on you. In the absence of blaming and shaming, it'll be much easier for them to take responsibility. I can't stress how important it is for women to develop this habit. In his 30 years of researching the relationship masters and disasters, John Gottman's findings show that the women who really rock their relationships have all developed a soft approach in the way they talk to their husbands about things that they've done to upset them. They aren't blameful, blatant, or firm in their approach, which in turn doesn't trigger their husband's shame. The last of the top 3 habits is to become an amazing listener. Seek first to understand before you react. I say this because 90% of problems that occur in relationships are due to misunderstandings. I've seen it over and over when working with couples, and without a doubt, I've seen it in my own relationship too. When I first started to practice this habit, I was amazed by how often I would say to myself, thank goodness I clarified that before reacting. Reacting either automatically due to my past conditioning or prematurely jumping to conclusions based on my crazy theory about who my husband is. We all have theories about our partners. They are at some level based on truths that we've seen about how they react when they get emotionally triggered, be it fight, flight, or placate. We tend to choose someone opposite to us, as ironically it was that energy that we were attracted to in the first place, because it balanced us and it gives us an opportunity to grow ourselves. Sadly, the longer we stay with them, the uglier our theories about them get, and eventually they end up running the show. The pushy person is seen as brash and controlling, the withdrawing person as withholding and secretive, and the placating person as dishonest and weak. When we do that, we imprison them in the unfairness of such wholesale condemnation, and ourselves in the self-righteous indignation that follows. They're doing exactly the same to us, of course. If instead we really listen to them in an open-hearted way, we'll be able to avoid reacting automatically. I hope this has been helpful in your quest to be a better you, and that you'll join me again in a few weeks when we'll take a look at the symptoms to chronic overfunctioning so that you can see if any part of you is playing that card. If you'd like to be reminded, follow us on the Academy of Lasting Love Facebook page or sign up for our newsletter and you'll get a transcript. The links are attached. Until then, be good to yourself and don't forget, keep it real.